very much concerned with A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. So let us start. 20th century is marked by the various literary, social, historical and political movements. The period, which is known as modern and postmodern period, experiences a distinctive change in literature due to emergence of various theories and trends. The term feminism, which emerged earlier, saw its wide coverage in literature in 20th century. It is a movement which broadly advocates and aims at granting the equal political, social and economical rights to women. The term feminine awareness, which is closely associated with the term like feminine conciseness, feminine perspectives, etc., is closely related with feminism, though one can hardly come across the exact definition of feminine awareness. Obviously, it is associated with women, and awareness too stands for knowledge or perception of a situation or fact or something. Broadly speaking, in the term feminine awareness can be taken for concise perception of women's own existence, sensations, thoughts, surrounding, etc. It is associated with feminine modes of perception and characterized by women's abilities to perceive both the diversity of experience and immediacy. The basic view of the concept directs toward the subordinate status of women at social, economical, political level in a male-dominated society. At the same time, it concentrates at women's concise efforts to explore their identity, deal with autonomous female role models concentrating on women's perspectives, thoughts, feelings, etc. A significant outburst is found in 20th century literature in terms of women's history, their lives, their untold stories, filling imagination and new routes towards exploring their own identities, accomplishing independence in self-assertions too. This exploration of feminine awareness is a shift in themes in 20th century from the earlier Victorian literature. This is a significant trait in 20th century women's literature, which eventually allow women to assert their feminine awareness through self-discovery, as mentioned by critics like Susan Gobert, Sandra Gilbert and Elian Showalter. The theme of feminine awareness has been explored in all the literary genres of the 20th century. Since the beginning of the 20th century, a new dynamic group of women authors have stepped into the field of literature with multifaceted dimensions. Let us study how the theme of feminine awareness has been reflected in 20th century. Here we shall refer to some select women writers and the reflection of feminine awareness in their writings. During the first half of the 20th century, two world wars, women's struggle for the voting right and the widening of both literary and mass cultures influenced the women writers of British literature. It is a period where women grew consciousness about their subordinate conditions. Their poetry is confirmed with stereotyped feminine aspects with parody, imitations and subversions. On the other hand, some other women poets drew on the new terminology depicting complex female psychology. The impact of psychological theories of Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud influenced the first wave feminism. Edith Sitwell, 1887 to 1964, remains one of the important feminine voice of 20th century British poetry. Mostly known for her verse collection Facade 1922, Sitwell's poetry was often experimental and symbolical. Her poetry is marked by the outspoken manner and rebellion against accepts modes of behavior. Sitwell gradually developed a flamboyant persona. She thinks women must control her representation if she is to be taken seriously. Alice Meynell, 1847 to 1922, is a versatile poet whose poetry shows her feminist concerns as well as her reactions to the events of the world. For Salava Path, poetry was a matter of life. Thus, many 20th century British women poets repeatedly emphasize their literary identity, showing their feminine awareness on various levels, including their choice of content and idiom, confession, protest towards subordinate status, etc. In the 20th century, the word feminism forms the core for the genre fiction. In spite of the masculine predominance in the field of literature, the age witnessed the emergence of a vast number of women writers writing from the depicts exploring their own experiences as women. In the field of fiction, 20th century British women writers marked their own feministic identity with innovative themes like stream of consciousness, suffrage novels, etc. In Virginia Woolf's and Dorothy Richardson's fiction, we find the features of stream of consciousness, techniques, fluid characterizations, and explorations of subjectivity. For example, Mr. Dalloway, there are some novelists like May Sinclair, 1863 to 1946, who used explorations of consciousness and the new findings of psychoanalysis to depict the continuation. Dorothy Richardson's novel Sequence Pilgrimage, which is considered as a significant work of literary modernism, celebrates its protagonist Marian's journey in and around the city, London, in search of opportunities despite economic hardships. On the other hand, there was also an effort by some women novelists to keep alive Victorian traditions of